saying somebody's shooting in the auditorium at Century Theater.
And the reaction of so many people today was, oh no, not again. Another high school, Columbine High in Littleton, Colorado.
A tragedy of monumental proportions. That's how the president of Virginia Tech described the horror that unfolded there.
On a breaking story out of Aurora, Colorado.
Sandy Hook Elementary School, a place of learning, a place of laughter. This morning, a place of unimaginable horror and sadness.
The latest details in that mass shooting at the Washington Navy Yard.
The horror started as the workday began.
Eyewitnesses say the two gunmen wearing black trench coats and black masks came in shooting.
Month after month, guns at schools, malls, and workplaces capture the headlines. Across the spectrum, from gun owners to victims, the discussion of gun control seems to impact every citizen. For the next half hour, we'll be discussing and exploring the debate regarding gun control, trying to understand why Americans are so mad about guns.
We've endured too many of these tragedies in the past few years. And each time I learn the news, I react not as a president, but as anybody else would, as a parent. And that was especially true today. I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old.
Following the murder of 20 children and 6 adults at Sandy Hook Elementary,
our younger son, Ben, age 6, was murdered in his first grade classroom.
President Obama urged Congress to strengthen gun laws.
As a country, we have been through this too many times. Whether it's an elementary school in Newton, or a shopping mall in Oregon, or a temple in Wisconsin, or a movie theater in Aurora, or a street corner in Chicago, these neighborhoods are our neighborhoods, and these children are our children. And we're going to have to come together and take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this, regardless of the politics.
It was the straw that broke the camel's back. Finally, the country began to stand up and take notice, and debate surrounding gun control began to intensify.
There are nearly 12,000 murders a year from guns in this country.
The point is,
when are you guys going to focus on that? And stop telling me the answer is more guns. No, it is not the answer.
90% of the American people support universal background checks that make it harder for a dangerous person to buy a gun.
Too many children are dying. Too many children.
As a mom.
As a dad.
As an American.
Demand a plan.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
20 of our children and 6 of our educators gone.
The gun lobby can be stopped, my friends.
You don't need an AR-15.
They can be stopped.
You don't need 30 rounds to protect yourself.
I'm so frustrated, I'm so furious that these kids have been blown away again with legally acquired weapons.
An assault weapons ban is meaningful.
But some boy who's got problems takes his mother's 3 weapons, including this ridiculous assault rifle, and goes into school and kills his kids. And you guys on the gun lobby still want to tell me the answer is more guns. Look, it is madness. No.
It will be hard, but the time is now.
No more lists.
No more
who they might have been. No more
if we had just done something yesterday. It's time. We can do better than this.
It's time for our leaders to act.
You must act. Be bold. Be courageous. Americans are counting on you.
And I must say, I view them with substantial dismay at the lack of courage in this House. Courage to stand up and say we've had enough of these killings.
Despite overwhelming public support, the gun regulation legislation failed with 49 Republicans and 5 Democrats overruling the bill.
A few minutes ago, a minority in the United States Senate decided it wasn't worth it.
One of the Democrats who voted against the bill was North Dakota Senator Heidi Heitkamp.
I think the first thing I would say is this wasn't a political calculation. What my decision was is, will this bill actually matter? Will this change the outcome? And I will tell you that I do not believe that the expanded background bill would have changed any outcomes.
I've heard some say that blocking this step would be a victory. And my question is, a victory for who? A victory for what?
It's our Second Amendment right.
Since its inception, guns have been an integral part of American culture.
I think we all should be able to own any weapon we want as long as we're not, a felon or a danger to society.
One of the founding principles of our country is that we have the right to bear arms, and I think that there's a good reason for that. It's what ensures our freedom. It's what enabled our country to exist in the first place.
America, land of the free, home of the brave, a country with a proud tradition of hunting and millions of responsible gun owners.
Safety's off.
There's no doubt about it. Americans love guns. And they show their affection with their wallets. The National Shooting Sports Foundation reported in 2013 that hunting generated nearly $12 billion annually in federal, state, and local tax revenues.
Now, I would tell you that our permits to carry is quadrupled. I mean, it's not unseen to have over 100, 200 a month. So now, do we know a lot more people have guns? Yes, we do. Just times are changing. The violence is starting to escalate a little bit more, and that makes people more nervous.
My dad always wanted my sister and I to learn how to protect ourselves in a world that has more dangerous people in it now than ever. And it kind of became a fun thing to do. You go to the gun range, if you had a bad day, you can just go loose off a couple rounds. To me, it's more upsetting when I see people who use it wrong than anything, because it's an activity that I enjoy. So when I know that there's a possibility that it can hurt people, I know I have to take it seriously, but people also need to remember that there's a fun side to it as well. I have had a marvelous day now. There's nothing more cathartic than guns. Just so happy.
But it's not the hunters making most of the headlines. With gun violence on the rise, the question remains, why all the violence? And why do people think guns are to blame for it?
But since when did the gun automatically become a bad word? The media calls semi-automatic firearms machine guns. They claim these civilian semi-automatic firearms are used by the military. They tell us that the .223 round is one of the most powerful rifle calibers, when all of these claims are factually untrue.
Certain guns that they frowned upon, like the AR assault rifle, it's not an assault rifle, it's not a fully automatic weapon, it's just a regular gun. It's a small caliber used for hunting purposes, mainly coyote hunting. It's not a military weapon at all in no standards. It just looks kind of scary, and people make it look like a military weapon by the accessories they put on it. But definitely the military has better weapons than civilians.
You've got that unholy trinity of guns, drugs, and money. And these are usually in hands of extremely hostile young people who are confrontational, and you end up with a pretty high body count. Where you break that cycle, how you address a drug problem, how you address a gun problem, how you address young people that think that's their only option, and maybe in some cases a pretty good argument can be made it is. You know, where you intervene to break that cycle has been something that's eluded us to a great degree for decades now.
You're never going to stop it entirely. There's no way. I mean, you're going to get some wacko's going to go in and start shooting, and they're going to get some people. But you can't blame the guns for that. Controlling it isn't going to help any. If they're going to go berserk, they aren't going to stop and register their gun before they go.
The debate regarding both the restriction and availability of firearms is ultimately a battle between a right to bear arms and the responsibility of the U.S. government to protect its citizens.
I certainly think it's a beneficial thing for people to be able to possess firearms to protect themselves and to engage in sport, hunting, and shooting. But, you know, a lot of countries have those rights, and yet they're able to regulate the massive amount of weapons that are out there.
In instances where guns are responsibly used, the emphasis is on safety. The gun is just a tool, after all. Simple but elegant, efficient and powerful. Yet even trained gun owners can fall prey to these weapons.
Victim accidentally shot himself.
Rick, police are calling this an accidental shooting.
After she was accidentally shot in the head Sunday night.
Police say he was accidentally shot on Easter. Police say the shooting was an accident.
Justin was hanging out with his girlfriend and some other friends at an apartment when his girlfriend picked up a handgun off a counter, didn't know it was loaded, pointed it at Justin, and fired.
And was it accidental? Yes, it was completely accidental.
Me and two other buddies were hunting north of Enderlin along the river. Two of us had bows and one had a rifle, and the guy with the rifle was walking towards us, mistook me for something else and shot me through the neck. And after that I was in the hospital for 3 months, and that's pretty much it, I guess.
You know, of greater concern, I think, is the use of firearms in suicides. I don't know if somebody is dead set on taking their own life. A firearm is certainly an option that they're going to exercise.
While the presence of firearms in gun violence cannot be debated, there are mitigating factors that contribute to the problem well before the trigger is even pulled.
There exists in this country, sadly, a callous, corrupt, and corrupting shadow industry that sells and stows violence against its own people through vicious, violent video games with names like Bulletstorm, Grand Theft Auto, Mortal Kombat, and Splatterhouse.
Grand Theft Auto 5 broke industry sales records by earning $800 million in the first 24 hours of its release and $1 billion within the first 3 days, making it the fastest-selling entertainment product in history. Its commercial shows how luxurious and open the new world is, along with crimes that players can now partake in.
This is your moment! Please don't make me ruin all the great work your plastic surgeons have been doing.
The following clip is taken from Modern Warfare 2, where Russian terrorists gunned down civilians at a national airport. The game offered a disturbing content notice stating some players may find one of the missions disturbing or offensive. With extreme violence like this, many academics are worried about the impact it has on those who see it.
It does have an effect on all of us. It has a stronger effect on people that have pre-existing, for instance, they're more aggressive to begin with. It tends to have a stronger effect most of the time for males than females. And then it seems to have a stronger effect for teens and young children because they're really just developing those kind of mental models and scripts of how they should behave in the world.
I have a cousin who plays like Modern Warfare and all of that stuff, and Jackson is exposed to that, but I mean, I try to keep him away from it while it is being played because he understands the difference now for some reason between somebody being alive and like somebody playing dead. And so he's like, he's dead, and it's like, oh. And so it's just kind of odd that he already knows that because of the games that somebody else plays.
Anthony Retzel is a college sophomore who plays video games regularly in order to relax.
I don't know, I have a feeling that they're all violent in their own way if you go into the action games, but I don't really find one sticks out more than the others. Every kid plays video games, and not every kid goes up and shoots up a school.
I've been playing violent video games for a long time, and I'm not an aggressive person. Like, I wouldn't do that kind of stuff, so I don't know, I don't think it's applicable to everybody, but some kids may take that like as an example. I got a PlayStation 2 and like shortly after they came out, and I did get Grand Theft Auto. My mom wasn't aware though, so.
We have blood-soaked films out there, like American Psycho, Natural Born Killers, that are aired like propaganda loops on splatter days. And then they all have the nerve to call it entertainment. In a race to the bottom, media conglomerates compete with one another to shock, violate, and offend every standard of civilized society by bringing an even more toxic mix of reckless behavior and criminal cruelty right into our homes.
LaPierre states that a child growing up in America today witnesses 16,000 murders and 200,000 acts of violence before they reach the age of 18.
When we say that showing violence to viewers will make them violent, it may make some violent, and that may be the case, but they may be the ones who already have a predisposition towards violence.
Frankly, with media violence or violence in our culture, we know a lot of the risk factors. Is there a impoverished, poorly reading, unpopular boy kid who exposes himself to a lot of violent entertainment who doesn't grow up to be an aggressive adult? And the answer is, of course. It's just less likely for him than the girl with solid academics and a stable family life, and who's accepted by her peers. You know, her risk is actually fairly slight.
A theory which proved true for Sandy Hook shooter Adam Lanza.
Picture of a deeply troubled 20-year-old, a loner obsessed with mass murder. He spent hours a day playing video and computer games, many violent, including Call of Duty, another called school shootings. The report also references a video not shown to the public, a 5-second dramatization of children being shot, and images of Lanza pointing guns to his head.
Lanza's massacre of 26 people is what really called Americans to take notice, and it raised two questions. Is there a way we could have stopped him? And what can we do to prevent this from happening again?
Laws or changes to the laws that are best going to, again, serve the objective of keeping the public safe.
It's hard to identify the specific problems with gun culture in America, and the solutions offered can differ from politicians to hunters. But a few consensus opinions emerge among the majority of citizens for sensible solutions to gun violence. Stronger and more thorough background checks prohibiting potentially dangerous individuals from obtaining a gun.
I'm in favor of background checks. I mean, you don't want weapons getting in the wrong hands of anybody.
Well, we definitely need stronger gun laws, and the type of guns that we allow on the street. As an example, are AR-15s that anyone can go in and buy to say they're hunting.
People, I don't think, should even really be allowed to have like automatic weapons just for recreation. And so yes, if the government is still going to allow people to do that, they should be able to have like in-depth background checks.
Idiots like me who've shot guns but don't know how to take care of one should not be able to walk down to Walmart or Scheels and just walk out with as high a power rifle as I pretty much want.
Background checks are necessary in some cases, but not all. I mean, most people are responsible enough to carry a weapon and go hunting, and concealed weapons permit and stuff like that. But you know, there's always the bad people out there that shouldn't have anything, weapons of any sort.
I think universal background checks are imperative. Those parameters have to be legislatively set.
For legislation to pass in Congress, President Obama says the responsibility lies with the voters to elect the officials that will vote yes on stronger background checks.
To all the people who supported this legislation, law enforcement and responsible gun owners, Democrats and Republicans, urban moms, rural hunters, whoever you are, you need to let your representatives in Congress know that you are disappointed, and that if they don't act this time, you will remember come election time.
We have to convince the Senate to come together and pass common sense gun responsibility reforms.
What's going to help this? I believe taking steps. Even if they're baby steps, we need to take steps. Are we addressing it in Congress? Are we addressing it in Fargo? I don't think so. Not to the degree that we should.
Until new laws can be agreed upon by the American government, we should find ways to utilize the laws we already have.
Is that there are lots of laws that aren't being enforced very effectively, in my view, especially with regard to background checks, that I think could be tightened up. If you look at some of the recent examples of events, they've often involved people with mental illness, which is understandable. I mean, you know, that's understandable. And so, could those have been avoided? I think we need to take a hard look at the enforcement of current laws to see if they're adequate, if we in fact enforce them to the degree that they ought to be enforced.
We don't want to get into the shouting match. We simply want to try to use the laws that are there to the best advantage for public safety, and to suggest laws or changes to the laws that are best going to, again, serve the objective of keeping the public safe.
Next comes gun safety, where a majority of gun owners know proper gun safety, but extra steps could be taken to better help the cause.
A firearm can be dangerous, just like a sharp knife can be dangerous. You've got to respect what it can do and what it's capable of doing. And how you learn that respect is learn about it, train with it, so that you practice safety at all times.
My father does own a gun, and he has a vault where he keeps them in, and it's in, actually, the vault is in a locked room.
Of course, we can better educate the gun owners on safety, but how do we prevent a child or intruder from firing the owner's gun? It's called a smart gun. Created by Trigger Smart, the child-proof gun will only activate with a sensor.
Confirmed. That does not work. You are wearing the ring?
Can you give me back the rifle?
That can be removed to make the gun virtually harmless. The sensor has since been modified to be worn as a bracelet, ring, or even a chip embedded into the user's hand. These guns have experienced low sales due to little demand from the American public. However, the use of these guns could be beneficial in the near future.
Our vision is to have a country that we live in that would be free of gun violence against children and families.
Another way to censor guns for children is through media literacy, where some people think the media is desensitizing our youth to gun violence.
I think it's a combination between movies and video games, but I think it's even more damaging when news channels and journalism decide to inflict fear and glamorize it even more.
Sean Brotherson is a child development and family relationships professor at North Dakota State University and talks about a technological leash children have with their cell phones, the internet, and television.
It's hard to get a child's attention because they're always, giving their attention to, the technological arena, so to speak. And it's really important to tell parents, you have permission to say, turn off the technology, because kids need to be released from that to a degree to be able to have conversations about what are they exposing themselves to, what are they seeing from friends, when they show them a post on Facebook or something.
Brotherson believes that not only is it a parent's responsibility, but a community responsibility as well as the media's.
We never want to, give up on parents. They're the first line of responsibility, as far as raising children, instilling in them the kind of values that will help children, monitor their own media consumption and also think about the messages that they receive from the media. At the same time, I think communities can set standards, and I think media providers need to think seriously about not just getting more eyeballs, but are we providing the kind of content that is going to raise a socially responsible generation.
The debate continues regarding the problem of gun violence in our society. This violence results in murders, accidents, and suicides. Some are mad about this violence and want fewer guns and better background checks. Others want fewer antisocial violent movies and video games. Still others want smart guns and smart use of the media. And of course, we all want a society where gun violence is rare rather than common.
I don't believe it, guns again, splattered over the news. More crazy martyrs fed on hate, medicines and booze. After bullets laid friends at school, kids and teachers huddle up outside under flashing lights. Policemen weep and parents hug. Just a shot in the dark. But I'm asking, where's the end, my friend? Just a shot in the dark. No harm in asking you again. When will my question hit the mark? Man, I don't know. Spent and talking heads fill the holes with words and air. All God's good work gone for nothing. Here's a chance to show they care. If I see another gun-toting dark holiday where our children play, I'll tell you